The Craftsman lawn tractor here, which is 20 years old, it croaked, and it had croaked before. The motor did, and what we found is that mice had set up shop in and around cylinder 2, which is here. So we're going to take it apart and see if in fact the mice have set up shop again, and if they have, we'll clean them out and we'll replace the head gasket, which I believe is the problem, and see if we can get it started. There are a lot of screws that we have to remove to get this top off. There's one that's underneath the air cleaner, so you want to make sure you get that out. And then there's one here, there's one here, there's one in the back, there's another one in the back, and so on. So these things come out, and then we can take the top off and see what's inside. We may also have to take the pump off. So the fuel pump is here. I don't think we have to do that though. And I forgot about very important screws. There's 4 right up here. Otherwise, you can't get this off because the guard on the air intake fan, it does block the lift. I can see that there is evidence of mice in there. You can see some acorns and some insulation down in there, which is the most important thing, I think. So I need to go a little bit deeper and see if I can take this cylinder head off right here and maybe check the gasket, because I have a feeling the gasket is leaking. The other thing that could be happening, in fact I can see that right now, that's just a bend. I thought it might be a burn. The other thing that might be happening here is that the lifter rods are bent, and those we can straighten out and put back in. They won't be as strong, they're not going to last forever, but they would have gotten bent because of the issues in here. But the other thing I'm just noticing right here, I've got bare wires and that could mean that the cylinders are firing when they're not supposed to, so we're going to have to take a look at that as well. There's 2 cylinders here, or one is not firing, right? This one I believe is firing, but this one may not be. And if in fact the signal that's coming from this side is grounding the condenser, then that could be a problem. Curiouser and curiouser. Well, that frayed wire was a concern, so I moved the insulation on it just to see if that's the thing that is causing the engine to misfire. So we'll see if we can start it. I know we're getting compression. So let's go get this started. All right, let's see if we can get it to crank. Nope. So that's an interesting problem. We'll have to see if we can do something about that. I've decided to charge this battery, see if I can get the thing to turn over. Take a little while, but you know, it is what it is. The charger says that the battery is at about 50% of power. I would have thought that that starter would have started the battery by itself, but apparently doesn't quite have enough juice to get it going. So we'll see what happens. We'll give it another 45 minutes to an hour, and then we'll give it a try. in the meantime, I've been working in the yard. So if I look a little different, it's because I've been working hard in the yard. Not a big deal. We're going to see if we can get this thing to start now. I've charged the battery, and we'll see if there's enough juice to turn it over. Ah, you hear that? It's too much compression. So I think something's going on with the valves, and I'm going to have to take a look and see if the exhaust isn't exhausting the way it's supposed to. So we need to check inside the valve here, under the valve cover, to see if in fact the valves are moving as expected. I suspected this cylinder, this is the one that was giving me trouble before, so we will take it off, see what's inside. Hopefully we can see the valve tappets are there, and we can see the push rods in the appropriate places. Now this is the low pressure side of the engine, so if we see any indication of burn or fire inside of here, we know that is a problem. I see oil dripping out, which is all right. And something else is falling down, which is not good. So, oh yeah, it's exactly the problem. All right, we pulled this off. The thing I don't know is what fell down. Oh, here we go. So check this out right here. You see this piece? All right, this goes in here and is supposed to be screwed all the way down tight, and the push rod is in here, it's laying down. So the push rod is not connected to anything, right? And that is why this motor isn't working. So what I got to do is to get this guy threaded back in there and get it tightened down. Oops, as I drop it again. And then we'll see if we can get it adjusted. So I've put this in here. It's just screws in. It is threaded, and then we'll tighten it up now. Get that nice and tight. Of course, if I was really going to be precise, I would ensure that there's the appropriate distance here, but I just want to see if the motor will run, and that may be enough for this exercise. So I'm going to get it in the hole and in the right place. It looks like that's about right. The way to tell is to move the motor and see if the rod moves. So if we move the motor, I'm going the wrong way. Try this again. Move the motor. Well, there's one. Does the other one go? Motor's not. Okay, there we go. Not in the right place. Ah, that might be better right there. Because that feels like that's out. Okay, that's good. Still not moving though. That's not awesome. That's it right there. I don't think that's it. It should be this guy. Oops. That goes to nowhere, all right? So this hole here that goes to nowhere. So that would be very bad because we might lose the push rod, which would suck. This is supposed to sit against that. There's a plunger right there. And then ideally this thing would go in. That's tough, man. Gotta get it to change. Let's see if we can free the lifter down in there. I've got a punch. I don't think it's long enough to get in there. I guess we can use the rod itself. I don't really want to flatten it, so I don't want to do that. Well, I was able to free the lifter by pushing on it with this punch, and now we're going to see if I can get the rod in there and get it to lift. All right, so I have tapped that in with the punch, and so now that I know the lifter is in, see if we can get it to be positioned correctly here. Get that, yeah, get that finger tight, and then we'll hit it with the wrench after we get all the parts in. So I'll get that in there. There we go. That goes right down, which is kind of nice. And then this guy will pop right there, see? So now it's in place. And this means that if we turn the motor, we should be able to see that move. Let's see. You can't really see that, so let's tip this up. All right. That didn't work at all, huh? There we go. All right, so we have the motor up here, and now we should see both of the valves opening. There's one, right? And then the other one should open next. There it goes. It's starting to move. See that? So I predict now, if I put this valve cover back on, this motor will start. What I do need to do, though, is to just get this tight so that it doesn't come off. That would be very bad, right? Yes, it would be very bad. Now, there's probably a very specific place to tighten that to, a torque value. I don't have that torque value, so this is all by eyeball and finger. It's probably why it fell apart in the first place. I do see some dust has come in here. I want to take that out. Don't want this to be too dirty in there. And there's a little bit of an oiler on the top right up here, and that puts oil into the fuel pump. So I want that to be clean, so that's up here, right? And we'll just kind of pop on there. And this guy goes like so. I didn't replace the gasket, I know that. This is more about making sure that it works than anything else right now at this stage. And hopefully it will work. So let's get the cover back on there. Of course, I don't have a gasket, so that is a little bit of a conundrum. But, you know, since it's low pressure, it should be okay. Sorry, there's really nothing going on here as I'm moving around. All right, let's go. Oh, I think this is going to purr like a kitten when we're done. You might be wondering how I knew this was the cylinder that wasn't working. It's because I've had experience with this particular cylinder before, and as I said at the beginning, I had suspicions that it had overheated because of the mice that had built a house in the cylinder. I ended up having to replace the whole cylinder head. That is not the case today, but I think I must have not tightened that lifter, or the point where the push rod connects to the rocker there. All right, 3, 4. By hand. All right, one more. Now, the motor couldn't turn over before because the exhaust valve wasn't opening, and it wasn't pushing spent fuel or air, compressed air, out of the engine after the ignition phase. So that's why it wouldn't go. All right, let's give it a try. Well, here goes nothing. And that, my friends, is a perfect repair.